Hi everyone, I'm Allie with Potomac Beads. Joining me in making this fun endless summer pendant or earring or accessory if you want to build on. You can gather your EVA or your AVA metal beads from us at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu. Let's have a little fun and get started. So to begin our design, we are using the endless ring, and the size is going to be important for this endless ring. You can do it in other sizes, but the size that I'm starting out with is the 30mm endless ring in that silver plating. You can do it with gold, you can do it with whatever color you want, or you can even make your own 30mm ring out of wire. So I have my EVAs here, and these are the metal EVAs. You can also do it with the check glass EVAs as well. And we're going to be doing a form almost of brick stitch around the outer edge, and we're adding beads in along this inner edge here. To begin, I want you to tie your thread onto your endless ring. And I'm using 0.006 white wildfire beading thread. I could also use some KO thread or Miyuki thread in silver would work as well. From here, we're going to add our first of our EVA beads. We're going to be adding the EVA so that our thread is going through with the needle going towards the point. I have 15 and 8/0 seed beads here. The 8/0 are the Duracoat Opaque Pansy, and the 15 are the Matte Opaque Dusty Orchid, both in the Miyuki brand. Coming out here, I want you to add 3 of your 15s, and then 1 8/0 seed bead, 3 15s, and then we're going to go back up through the EVA bead towards the open side. It's going to decorate that middle there with those seed beads. They're going to kind of pop along the sides here. And then what I want you to do is take your thread and go around the endless loop and then go back through that same hole of the EVA bead coming in towards the center of the project. You'll see just the tiniest little bit of thread around the edges, but the colors will go nicely that you won't see a lot of that extra thread. From here, I want you to add 1 of your 15/0s, and then you're going to pick up your next EVA bead, going this time from the middle towards the exterior open side. From here, you're going to go back through that same hole again towards the middle and come out towards the pointed side of the EVA bead. Give it a nice little tight pull so you don't see a lot of extra thread. From here, this pattern gets repeated, so we have a total of 8 of our EVA beads on the design. Adding in our 3 15s, 1 8, 3 15s, back through then towards that ring, decorating the top of the EVA bead, down through, around the ring, and back through the EVA. As I come back through the EVA then, I'll add 1 more 15/0 on and continue on again until I get all 8 in the circle. As I get all 8 in the circle, whether or not you do it in this nice metallic design with the rose gold and then the crystal lab full and the Duracoat galvanized gold in the 8/0s, it gives a nice kind of color look to that nice kind of bright sun endless summer design. So go ahead and add in the rest of your EVA beads and we'll continue on then as we add in the next layer. So as I come to the last one here, I'm going to go through the last leg of the 8th EVA bead, up through and attach to that endless ring, going over the top with the thread, and then down onto the ring so you just see that thread just the tiniest little bit. Grab 1 15/0 and then go back through that original starter leg of the EVA bead. Give a nice tight pull, and that's going to round out that continuous endless kind of summer sun that we are working on. I'm going to lock this last EVA in place one more time by going back through and down into the EVA bead. And then as I go in here, you can see I already went through 2 15s. I'm going to go through the last 2 on that grouping of 3 and out through an 8/0 seed bead. So I've gone in here and added in 2 15/0s of each of the Crystal Lab and in between each of those 8/0 seed beads. Now as I add in the last 2, I'm going to go back through that first 8 as well as the first 2 15s and then the first 8 as well. That kind of pulls it all in together and gets that nice kind of rounded look. From here, I'm going to get back to the outer edge. If you want to, you could go even further and kind of close this up, or in addition to that, you could go in and actually add a crystal there in the center if you want. What I'm going to do is go back up through the design and go up through the 15s, those 3 on the side here, and go through that EVA bead and out. And that's going to bring me right here out on the little edge. and get me set up to do my brick stitch. Now at this point, if you want to, you can keep it nice and simple and actually finish off the design. It looked really nice with the rose gold one to just finish off the design right there. You don't have to add in any of the seed beads around the edge. I want this nice kind of summer sunset pink in that opaque pansy to go along the outer edge, so I'm going to do some brick stitch. To do the brick stitch here, you have 2 8s that you're going to add. Let those drop down on your needle, and then you're going to go through your ring and kind of come out through the center of the next one of your EVA beads. Go back up through the second bead, and that is the start to brick stitch. Your beads are going to lay flush then along the outer row of that design. If you want to, you can also skip a step here and do a little bit of an edging design to the piece, adding in a little bit of seed beads along the edge to make it a little bit different than this outer edge here. I'm going to keep going with just this single. If you wanted to, you could add a 15 and then the 8-0. I'm going to add the 8-0. So through the ring, and I keep my fingers flush against the endless ring so my thread kind of stays to the back, and then go back up through the 8-0 from the front side of the thread. You can see when you pull them, that gets that nice little look, and you want to pull tight so that way you don't see a lot of thread here at the top. Again, 8-0 goes on through the next section of the ring and up through. And you want the seed beads to sit nice and close to one another, but you don't want them to be too tight that they start kind of overlapping or falling from one side to the other. So continue on adding in your 8-0 seed beads between the design right along the ring. You kind of take the thread through, and then again back up through the 8-0 seed bead to add to that brick stitch design. I'm going to continue brick stitch the whole way around the ring, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how we increase and get to the next row of the stitch. So as you're coming back around to the brick stitch and you get to the start of the project, you're going to go down through. Instead of adding another bead, you can see I have a little bit of a gap there. You're going down through that 8-0 seed bead that you put on first. Remember, we put 2 on at the start of the brick stitch. You're going to go back through the loop, through the endless loop, and then back up through that bead number 1. What that does is basically lock that bead into place and have that sit up as well. You'll notice I kind of left that gap rather than adding another bead, and what I'll do is kind of move my beads along the endless ring. I don't want too many beads in that it's too tight. There wasn't enough room for one full bead, so I'd rather have just the tiniest little bit of a gap and kind of rearrange the beads so you can't even see that gap when you're working on it. Now what we're going to do is add the next row to our design. For this row here, I just went right along and added the 15 O's right along the side to get them to lay flat. We're going to change it up a little bit because we have the 2 colors on this design, and I'm going to be adding to each step here some of my 15s in that dusty orchid and some in the crystal Labrador to sit along the outer edge. So again here to start out, we're going to add 2 beads. In between those 2 beads, I want you to put a 15 in the crystal lab. So I have my 2 beads. So I have my pattern right now is that orchid, the lab, the orchid, and the 15. I'm going to let that fall down against my project, go through that bridge thread rather than the loop now, that's part of the brick stitch, and go back up through that second orchid bead, making sure that your thread is underneath that bridge thread. Give it a nice little tight pull and move on. Every time now I want you to pick up a crystal lab and one in the orchid and go through the next bridge thread and then back up just through the orchid. Give it a nice little tight pull, and the silver will sit just edging the design right there. Now you may have spots because it is the 15-0, which is significantly smaller than the 8-0, where you're going to have 2 sections that you go into the bridge thread. So you may have 2 beads per bridge thread. Every once in a while you'll have 1 bead per bridge thread. And you're going to pull nice and tight. Just kind of judge along the design and see exactly how much you need to add. Again, adding that 15, then the second 15 in the pink color, and then back through just the second 15, which is going to allow that silver 15 to sit along the edge, just kind of edging the design. So here at the top of the design, you can decide whether or not you want to put your wire guard on right away, or whether or not you want to do like I did in the sample piece here. In the earring, I went all the way around the outer edge to get that nice flat edge rather than kind of the gapped edge by going in and adding in an 11-0 seed bead, or I'm sorry, a 15-0 seed bead in the Crystal Lab between each one of the silvers. If you want to and you want that fringe look, you can also just keep it like this and keep that open ring. I like the polished finish look, so I am going to add my seed bead in between each. What I'm going to do here is, as I end, I'm going to add a 15-0, go down through that first 11-0 seed bead that we added in this row, and that creates our bridge between the two. Go back up through the first bead here, or I'm sorry, the last bead that you just put on in the last 15. Give a nice little tight pull, and then sew through that 15 that you just added. Along this outer edge, then you have your wire guard here, 1 or 2. If you want to add a little tassel at the bottom, it would look really fun. But you're gonna go along that outer edge, and you're adding in 1 for 1. So every time you go around the circle here, you're gonna add a 15, sew through the next 15 in line to again appear to have kind of an endless ring around the endless ring. You can also take a look at some of the bigger sizes of the endless ring because they look really fun, that you could actually attach a larger size like the 40 millimeter to the outer edge here and build on like that. So if you want to, you can kind of sew around this outer edge here, adding in your last of your 15-0s to make that nice little ridge. As we go around here, you're just continuing adding. At one of the points, rather than adding in another 15-0, you're going to add your wire guard, going up through one side of the wire guard, down through the other side of the wire guard, and then into the next 15. Making sure as you pull that that thread goes right in there inside the wire guard. Make sure to, if you need to, kind of pinch your wire guard a little bit so it sits in the middle there. And then go in and add your next 15 and on down the line. So I'm going to continue going around the edge, adding in my 15s to get my nice kind of seamless exterior edge. So once you have your last 15-0 that you're going around in the circle here, I'm going to sew the last one in place and then continue on through that row that I just did a little bit, right along the line. And then all you have to do is tie off your thread. So I'm going to take my thread and needle through a couple more beads, bring it out. I'm working with a size 10 needle. If you worked with a 12, it would be a little bit easier to kind of stream through them. And then what I'm going to do is go down through one of my beads, and I'm just going to tie off my thread end. And it's as simple as that. Then if you want to, you can put a jump ring on it. You can put an ear wire, like my earrings here. For this one here, I like the pink color to be a pendant. So I'm just going to go in here, tie off my bridge thread, or tie off by connecting onto a bridge thread, kind of sewing through and back through, making a little knot there along the thread. And then grab your thread burner and burn off your thread ends. So I have 2 thread ends. I have the starter one, and I have the ending. I'll take the thread, burn it down flush next to the project. Again, with this silver, you really don't see the white. If you are using a gold, I would suggest using the gold KO thread, so that way you don't see that thread as well in the design. And then if you want to, you can put it on a chain, you can put it on ear wires, and really have fun. Also, I did this design and showed a little bit during a live stream on Twitch TV for PotomacBeads. And in that, I got the suggestion also that you could put 3 together for a killer necklace as well, too. Putting the 3 together in kind of that triangle and then chain along the back. So try it out and tell us exactly what you make and what you get. But all I'm going to do now with this one is put a little jump ring on it and hang it from a nice chain to be a little medallion. Again, if you want to hang a tassel along the bottom, that's also another fun look. As always, thanks so much for watching and joining me in making the Endless Summer pendant and earrings. Remember that you can change this up, use a bigger ring, use a smaller ring, just change the count of your EVA beads that are going in the center. As always, if you need any of the materials, you can check us out at PotomacBeads.com as well as PotomacBeads.eu and get links for the specific projects and beads that were used in this design in the description below the video. Thanks so much for watching and enjoy your own Endless Summer pendant design.